we was watching a TV show recently, Parenthood. Has anybody ever watched Parenthood? I mean, the little, well, he's not so little anymore, the boy Max with Asperger's. He was watching one of the shows, and he had a girl that he liked. And if you know Max, he's very blunt, very honest. He doesn't know how to beat around the bush or to really joke around. And he is talking to his mom and dad, and they're telling him, you know, there's sometimes that she's like, there's different levels of commitment. She's like, when me and your father met, he liked me in a 5, but I really liked him in a 2. And that level changed as they got to know each other. The level grew. So this boy goes to school, goes directly to the girl, right? You know how this goes. And he goes directly to the girl and he says, I need to know what level that you like me. Is it a 5 or is it a 1, 2, 5 being the best, 1 being the least? I need to know. So that way I know if I got something to work with. And she goes, yeah. She goes, I don't know, I would say maybe a 2. He's like, okay, so at least I got something to work with, you know. So it's kind of like the old Dumb and Dumber. So you're saying there's a chance. But there's different levels of commitment. And I looked up the word commitment, and there's a couple things that said. One that kind of struck me is because it's like two kind of opposites. One is the state or quality of being dedicated to a cause, which is basically what we talk about, being committed to something. However, commitment is also an engagement or obligation that restricts freedom of action. Like, I would go to this, but I have a prior commitment, right? So I can't do maybe what I want to do or what you would like to do because I have a prior commitment, which in some ways can be negative. But there's also, if you look at just the word committing, not commitment, but committing, you know, there's the negative of committing sin or committing transgressions, right? We never say, well, I committed a good deed this morning. We basically say, well, he committed murder. He committed adultery. It always kind of goes with a negative connotation in a lot of ways. And it just kind of spoke to me like, you know, we can be committed, but it can be negatively. We can be so committed to something that it hurts a better commitment. Are you with me? So, I wanted to just talk about this morning a little bit. And I wanted to give you a couple quotes, if I could, just to kind of start out. One of the most important keys to success is having the discipline to do what you know you should do, even when you don't feel like doing it. Right? It's the first of the year here, kind of, you know, still close to, and maybe if you made a resolution, you're barely hanging on to your resolution. Or I'm sure the gyms were full of New Year people saying they're going to get in shape, going to commit to the gym, right? And they get in the mood to commit. Are you with me? But then, 2 weeks later, after the mood has left, the commitment is whether or not they stick with it or whether or not they don't. If they're truly committed, you do it even when you don't feel like it. If you're not committed, then you'll not do it when the mood leaves you, right? Most people fail not because of a lack of desire, but because of lack of commitment. That was Vince Lombardi, the football coach, and a man by the name of Kenneth Blackard says this: there's a difference between interest and commitment. When you're interested in doing something, you do it only when it's convenient. When you're committed to something, you accept no excuses, only results. And then if you want to look at this in a marriage scenario, in a husband-wife scenario where you commit yourself, love in itself is an unconditional commitment. Now, this could take me on a whole other sermon, so I want to make a comment, but I got to cut it off right there. Love is an unconditional commitment to an imperfect person. To love someone isn't just a strong feeling. It is a decision, a judgment, and a promise. I mean, when you pledge to love someone, you pledge to love them all of your life, with all of your heart, right? I don't remember all the wedding nuptials, but for better, for worse, richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, better or worse, it doesn't matter, right? I heard a man say this: if you love someone unconditionally, then there is going to be something in their life that does not meet your conditions. Right? Maybe you have a spouse and you're saying, I can put up with a whole lot, but this is just the one thing I cannot handle. Guess what your spouse is going to do? That one thing. And it will test your unconditional love. Love without condition. Now, I would say that's true. My wife doesn't have that, so. But, remember I talked about a couple weeks, about William Wallace? I am William Wallace! From Braveheart. Everyone remember that? I'll give you one more little Braveheart tip. When they get married, right? When him and his wife are pledging themselves to each other, you know what they say? They do not say, and I don't have the exact quote, but they do not say, I'll love you, I'll love you the rest of your life, or I'll love you the rest of my life, right? What they say is, I pledge myself to you and no one else the rest of my life. And his wife is then turned around and killed shortly after. So he has basically said, his heart is hers for the rest of his life, not just her life. And I'm not saying that he couldn't remarry, but he can't remarry because he dies in the movie. Spoiler alert. But he said, and she said to him, I'm not. There's also a scene in the movie Phenomenon where they do that. He says, he's sick, he's dying, another spoiler alert. But these movies are like 20 years old, so if you haven't watched them, tough luck. He says, just tell me that you'll love me the rest of my life, because I'm sick and I'm dying. And she said, no, I ain't going to do that, but I will tell you I will love you the rest of my life. Right? And that is commitment. Unconditional. Right? If you leave me tomorrow, I will love you. If you don't meet my conditions, I am committed. There's a very oxymoronic word. And you know what it is? One of my favorites. It's called almost. It has the word all in it, which is all, and then it has the word most in it, which is just most. So you combine the two and it's almost. And there is no such thing as almost committed. Are you with me? In Psalm 37:5 it says, commit your way to the Lord, trust also in Him, and He shall bring it to pass. This is how committed we must be. When Jesus is hanging on the cross, He took His commitment so far that He said, into your hands I commit my spirit. I'm here on the cross, I am hurting, I am dying, I'm suffering, but God, my life is in your hands. I'm that committed. That's commitment. We love this one. We love to put this on our door. But in Joshua chapter 24, he says, if it seems evil to you to serve the Lord, choose for yourselves this day who you will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the river, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you go. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. He had commitment. He said, I don't care what the rest of y'all do. Not necessarily, I don't care. He said, I'm urging you to do this. But if you want to serve other gods, so be it. Me and my house, we're going to serve God. We're committed. What about Daniel? Right? The Daniel fast is popular around this time of year. And Daniel says, in Daniel chapter 1, verse 8, he says, Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's delicacies, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the chief of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. Daniel says, you can give everybody else the good food, the good meat, the good wine, everything else. I have committed myself that I'm not going to take what you have to give. I just want what God wants me to eat. He was committed. Now, how many know if you're not committed to something, you will fall easily? Anybody know that? How many has ever started a diet or a food eating change that you were interested in doing, but you weren't committed to doing? And then you started it, and then a few weeks later or a few days later, somebody's like, "Hey, look at this pork chop I got." And you're like, "Man, I promised I wouldn't eat fried pork chops anymore. Man, that looks awfully delicious." And you eat a fried pork chop. Or you say, I'm not going to drink any more coffee, right? I drink too much coffee, I drink too much caffeine, I don't need it. And then you're like, I'm not going to do it. You know, God just don't tempt me. And then the first person's house you go to, like, would you like a cup of coffee? Sure. Well, he asked me to do it, God. It must be God's way of saying I can have coffee. It's not commitment unless it's tested and tried and found to be true. We can commit ourselves to a lot of things, and I don't want to get too serious, too emotional right now off the bat, but I have a Bible study later at the gym, and I was like, "God, what do we talk about?" And I just, one word, commitment. I said, okay. So then I was like trying to put that aside, and I just prepared a little short thing, right? And I was like, this is for the gym, commitment, short thing. And then I was praying, God, what do you want me to teach about? What do you want me to talk a Sunday morning? What do you want me to tell the people? And I usually try to do something different because I got several people that come here and they go to the Bible study, and they don't need to hear a repeat. Well, maybe they do need to hear it. But anyways, I try not to do that, right? I always try to, God, you have a word for them, and you have a word for them. You tell me what it is. And he said, commitment. Oh. And I thought, oh, wait a minute, God. If it were my last service, it was my last time ever to get to preach, if this was it, you know, I kind of wanted to take something else and maybe do a different approach, a lighthearted approach or a funny approach. And I said, if this is the last time I ever got to preach, God, what do you want me to say? He said, commitment. And it's all through the Bible. And I want you to turn with me to Nehemiah chapter 6. Now, the first couple chapters of Nehemiah has some good things in it, and I kind of want to hit chapter 6 and then do just a little bit of backtracking. But I want to do chapter 6 first. And this is what is taking place. Nehemiah sees that his people and their land are weak and susceptible to being attacked. Their wall, they have had a wall of protection, and the wall has been destroyed. The gates have been burned. The big wooden gates protecting them. Everything has been burned. There's no protection. And in chapter 1, I think it is, in chapter 1, God kind of deals with him in his heart, right? And he prays. And this is what happens. He gets a passion for his people. And it all starts with that. And you know what he says? All right, I got to go and fix this. I am committed to helping these guys fix the problem. He could have said, God, I pray that you fix it. All right, how many of you done that? But you see a problem, you see a need, and you feel a passion for the problem, and you say, God, I pray you supply that need. And God says, I'm trying to get you to do it. And it all starts with this passion, and he prays and he fasts with his people. He is committed, and he goes to them and he helps them rebuild the wall. And in chapter 6, I want you to turn there, and this is what happens. They rebuild the wall. They're getting it finished. And in chapter 6, verse 1, It says, now it happened when Sanballat, Tobiah, Geshem the Arab, and the rest of our enemies, right, these are all enemies, heard that I had rebuilt the wall, and that there were no breaks left in it, though at the time I had not hung the doors in the gates, that Sanballat and Geshem sent to me, saying, come, let us meet together among the villages in the plain of Ono. Never meet somewhere where it's called Ono. Bad sign. But they thought to do me harm. Verse 3. So I sent messengers to them, saying, I am doing a great work, so that I cannot come down. Why should the work cease while I leave it and go down to you? So here they are sending a message, and they're like, I want you to meet with us, and we have a proposition for you. And he's saying, no, I'm busy. I just cannot come down. He's committed. They do this 4 times. And he just keeps telling them, my work is too important. I'm committed to it, and I'm not coming down until it's finished. Verse 5. Then Sanballat sent his servant to me as before the 5th time with an open letter in his hand, and it was written, it is reported among the nations, and Geshem says, that you and the Jews plan to rebel. Therefore, according to these rumors, you are rebuilding the wall, that you may be their king. And you have also appointed prophets to proclaim concerning you at Jerusalem, saying, there is a king in Judah. Now these matters will be reported to the king, so come therefore and let us consult together. And they're threatening him. It's like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go to the king and say, you are doing this to build up your wall so that you can pronounce him your king. So they're threatening him and says, we're going to go to the real king about this matter. And then they're just making up rumors. Right? And verse 8 says, no such things as you say are being done. You invent them in your own heart. Verse 9, for they all were trying to make us afraid, saying their hands will be weakened in the work, and it will not be done. So he says, now therefore, God, strengthen my hands. This is the type of commitment that God needs to rebuild His church, is to rebuild a relationship with Him. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to get distracted from a good work? Anybody? I don't know about you. I often feel that my mind is the most distracted when I sit down to spend time with God. When I sit to read, I have 3,000 things that run through my mind. I think, this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta, and this, and this, and this, and what about this? And all these things just running through my mind. And I get sidetracked sometimes. How we do this, right? I mean, I've seen people do this. They're in the middle of their study time, right? They're reading, they're praying, they're in the Bible. But, it's like, that's a good scripture. Let me take a picture of that and put that on my Instagram so people know that I'm studying. And then we get into our social media and like, I didn't see that. And I didn't see that. And after 10 minutes later, like, wait, what was I doing? Right? I wanted to show people that I was studying, and then I forgot that I was even studying. Now I'm on this and checking this out and looking at this. And I forgot I needed to call this guy back, and I forgot I didn't answer this message. And even good things, good purposeful things, we get distracted and we don't stay committed to what we're trying to do at the time. Me and my dad were running up to a store the other day, and his cousin had called him, and we ate lunch with him a couple times this week, and it just kind of become a habit thing. And Friday we was going out of town, so he calls us just right as almost we're leaving, and he says, "Where are you guys going to go and eat today?" Right? And he said, "Well, actually, I was going to tell you that we're not, because we're going out of town." He says, "But you can come with us if you want." And he says, "Oh no, I can't do that. I got way too much important things to be doing now." Ah, what the heck? I'll go ahead and come with you. He was doing some work, but he's retired. He got plenty of time, but it was just funny. And it's so easy to get distracted off the good work, right? When something else that could kind of be more appealing comes by. And here is nothing but distraction after distraction. And Nehemiah's like, here we're trying. I almost got it finished, right? I got the wall up. The doors, the gates have not been hung. But we can do that later. I could go and meet with these guys, see what's going on. Maybe we can set out some kind of truce. Maybe fix the problem. Maybe I can straighten out the rumors, right? We always got to do that. And there's a rumor, we got to go straighten it out. Nehemiah just keeps saying, nope, I'm not coming in. He says, you just are making this stuff up in your head, in your heart. This is not what's being done. And he says, what you're trying to do is just make us afraid and weaken our hands. And he just turns to God and says, God, strengthen my hands that I stay committed. It probably wouldn't be a bad prayer for us to pray every now and then, right? We start feeling weak, we start feeling distracted. God, this is just trying to distract me. God, just strengthen my hands. Keep me committed. Help me to keep doing what I said I would do. Verse 10, he says, afterward I came to the house of Shemaiah, the son of Leah, the son of, I can't even pronounce some of these names, who was secret informer. And he said, let us meet together in the house of God within the temple, and let us close the doors of the temple, for they are coming to kill you. Indeed, at night they will come to kill you. Right? We're going to keep you safe. We'll keep you protected. And I said, should such a man as I flee? And who is there such as I who would go into the temple to save his life? I will not go in. He says, you all are just making this up. You all are hiring these people to come and lie to me, trying to distract me. But I have my focus. I got a laser sight where I'm going, and I am committed. Right? That's why Paul says, I fix my eyes on the prize. Right? He stuck with it. And verse 15 says this, that the wall was finished on the 25th day of Elul in 52 days. They had let the wall sit there for years, thinking it would take them years to rebuild the wall. And verse 16 says, it happened when all our enemies heard of it, and all the nations around us saw these things, that they were very disheartened in their own eyes, for they perceived that this work was done by our God. Nehemiah kept his focus and his commitment. And they were amazed. They were trying to distract him because they were the ones that were afraid. Nehemiah had a focus, a purpose. Right? He had, as I told you in chapter 1, he had prayed, and God had put this passion in his heart. I don't know about you, I imagine that you probably have, in some moment of time, felt a passion for something. That God has put something on your heart, and you say, man, God, I feel like this is important, and I feel like I need to work on this. And I feel like maybe no one else is doing this, and I feel like this is something that I really need to do. And then we see the other things that other people are doing. And we get distracted by what they're doing so well that we have to do something like that. Like, oh, well, they're doing that type of ministry, and it seems to succeed. Maybe I could do something like that. And we put aside the thing that God has put in us. And God puts this thing in Nehemiah, and he doesn't go blabbing it around to many people. As a matter of fact, in chapter 2, He says, I arose in the night, I and just a few men with me, and I told no one what God had put in my heart to do at Jerusalem. Nor was there any animal with me except the one I rode on. I wanted to go and see God do this work. And I didn't want to boast about what God had put in my heart. I just wanted to go and do it. So many times, if you'll read through Nehemiah 1 through 6, it is a constant distraction. Every time word got around, this is what they wanted to do. Distraction. When he saw that they are rebuilding the wall, they mocked them and said, they're not going to get this thing done. It's too large of a job. Will they be able to do it themselves? There's no way. It's not going to stand. And Nehemiah said, and maybe these guys are right. Maybe this is too big of a job. But you know what I would say? And they said, even if they build this thing, it's not going to stand. As a matter of fact, he says, if they build this, if a fox goes on it, it will break down their stone wall. Nehemiah kept building. And in verse 6 it says, so we built the wall, and the entire wall was joined together up to half its height, for the people had a mind to work. If you take anything that you're committed to, if you commit yourself to it, I'll say it like this. If you commit yourself to it without hinging that commitment on results, then you will stay committed. Does everyone know what I mean by that? Many of us will start a diet, say, I'm going to change the way I eat because I need to lose weight. And in 2 weeks, we've changed the way we eat, but we haven't seen any weight loss. So you know what we do? Well, maybe this diet ain't working. Maybe I can have some Oreos and milk before I go to bed. Maybe I can do this. Maybe I can do that. Because we don't see results. I'm committing myself to the gym. And I'm going to work out. And I'm going to see myself bench press 200 pounds. And I'm going to be stronger. And you're going to see me squat more. And I'm going to. And this is the things I'm going to be able to do. And then we work out for maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, and we're still struggling with the same weight that we started with, and we're like, man, I'm just not seeing the results that I want to see, and I'm just not, maybe this commitment is just wasting my time. It's a new year. I want to read my Bible more, and I want to pray more because I want to see God use me, and I want to be powerful in God, and I want to see His Holy Spirit work through me, and which is all good things. And you know what we do? We start out, and we don't feel any different, and we don't see any difference, and we begin to waver on our commitment because we're looking for results. Right? We're looking for the progress. We're looking for a change. But what we need to do is just commit yourself that no matter the results, right? You say, well, why would I commit myself and there's not going to be any results, right? Let me answer that question. Let me ask the question. Why would I commit myself to anything if I'm not going to see any results? The answer to that question is because no matter if you see results or not, it is the right thing to do. Right? So you say, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I know I need to eat better. So what I'm going to do is change my diet and eat better for the sake of myself, and I commit myself that I'm going to do this. And whether I see results or not, I'm not drinking pop anymore, or I'm not eating this anymore, or I'm not doing this anymore. And you know what's going to happen? You're going to be encouraged just by every day doing it, not discouraged by not seeing results. And then, as you are doing it and being encouraged to do it, then when you see the results, you're going to be like, now, I've done this long enough, now I'm seeing results, and I know this is what I need to be doing for the better. And I'm committed to it. I commit myself, not to being able to bench press 200 pounds, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to commit myself to 3 times in the gym a week. And I'm going to, that's my whole goal, is just the process. Just not what I'm able to do, but just every day. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. And at the end of that week, I'm like, all right, I might not see any difference yet. My pecs might not be bulging yet, and my abs aren't ripped yet, and I'm not able to bench 200 pounds yet. But that's not my goal. My goal is just going to the gym 3 times a week. And when I went to the gym 3 times a week, I met my goal. I was committed to that, and that is what I'm committed to. Now, anybody knows. I don't have to tell you this. Anybody knows that if you go to the gym long enough, and you stay committed long enough, then guess what? You will see the results. Right? You're not inapt to seeing results. It's just, we stick with the commitment. We do that with prayer too. God, I'm going to pray. Oh, I'm going to pray. And we get up Monday morning and we pray, and maybe we have a good experience with God, but then Tuesday, it's a boring one. You just read and you pray. I didn't feel much. Wednesday, I didn't feel much. Thursday, you forget. Friday, you try to get back in, and I just don't feel much, don't have time. Saturday, a couple weeks later, you've just forgotten all about your commitment because you didn't see change yet. Nehemiah was so committed, no matter what the distraction. Remember in chapter 6? If you will, I want you to go back to this verse. Chapter 6, verse 3. It says, I'm doing a great work, and I cannot come down. And we come up here and play with some music. Look. Commitments are a long thing. Right? Sometimes they keep us from being able to do what we want to do. Remember how I said, well, I have a prior commitment, and it kind of restricts our freedom. Right? But when you make a commitment, that is exactly what it means. I'm committed to that. Right? I cannot be almost committed to my wife and say I'm committed to her until it's Friday night, and I would just rather go out and drink and have a good time, and then come back Saturday morning and she's like, boy, you sure have been committed to me, except for that one time when you took a break and you cheated on me, but we're still committed, right? That's, there's a lot of comparisons between the gym and working out and being committed, right? And here's what is kind of good for you. When you work out, you need to have some rest days, and when you eat healthy, you need to have some cheat days. There is no cheat days with Christ. With me, you can't say, "Oh well, I've followed you, God, for 14 days in a row now. This 15th day, I would just like to have a break and just go out and send my little tail off." I can't do that to my wife. If I do that, if I just break my commitment one time to have a cheat day, then I am no longer committed. Right? I've broken the commitment. And Nehemiah says, I am doing a great work. I cannot come down. Now, I want to show you something, just real quick. Right now, I'm doing a lot of talk about you and how you need to step up your game and commitment. But I want to show you why now. I want to show you why to do this. Turn with me to Matthew chapter 27, verse 42. In Matthew chapter 7, we see Jesus Christ on a cross. And we see them mocking him. We see them dividing his garments. We see them putting a crown of thorns over his head. And we see them putting a sign over his head saying, "This is Jesus, the King of the Jews," in mockery and blasphemy. And in verse 41, the chief priests, the scribes, the elders, the religious of the day. In verse 42 says, "He has saved others. Himself he cannot save. If he is the King of Israel, let him now come down from the cross, and we will believe him." And I can just imagine Christ in his heart, in his mind, saying, "I am doing a great work up here, and I cannot come down. For I'm not just the King of Israel, and I'm not just trying to save your little city and government. I am trying to save the entire world. And what I am doing, if I come down, I cannot fulfill the great work." See, you're trying to distract me. You're trying to pull me off the cross and what I'm trying to fulfill. But I cannot come down. I'm doing too great of a work. Today, in 2016, is not the day, is not the year to be distracted and to lose commitment. As a matter of fact, if 2015 was that year, then 2016 needs to be the year that you come back into commitment. We need revival in the worst way. And I don't mean just, well, we need to see more people saved. Yeah, we need that. But we need to see people who are saved be fully committed again. Fully on fire. Fully consumed and committed to Christ. We need to care about God more than anything else. We need to love Him. Listen, I'm going to say a few things here that might be a little bit difficult to stomach, but you'll understand why. 2016 is not the year to say, well, I am ready to follow my dreams. You know, my life isn't last forever. I need to follow my dreams. I don't want to live on my deathbed and be there and have regret. Right? And that's what I'm tempted by that so many times. Maybe I need to do what I want to do. Maybe I need to fulfill my dreams and my passions. But we need to love God more than anything so that we fulfill His dreams, His passions. Now, if they're the same, if your dreams are His dreams, then commit yourself to death. And don't waver. But if we've said, man, my commitment to God has kind of interrupted my dreams, and we begin to be distracted, and we begin to put our homes above our commitment. We begin to put our careers, our dreams, our cars, our comforts, our lives. We begin to put our children, our spouses. We begin to put ourselves, anything and everything. We begin to be distracted. I can tell you that, as an example, as a married man who loves his wife dearly, there is not one day goes by that there is not some type of distraction that tempts me and all of us to lose our commitment. Right? You don't have to raise your hand, but how many of you again would agree? Right? There are leggings everywhere. There's all kinds of distractions, all kinds of ads on Facebook, all kinds of anything on the internet or magazines that just to grab our focus and distract us from our commitment. That is the devil's whole game. If I can just distract them, if I can just deceive them, thinking what I got over here is better than what you're already committed to. It's a lie. And it does not matter if it looks like a pretty rose. It doesn't matter if it looks like a pretty girl. It doesn't matter if it looks like a pretty drink. It doesn't matter if it looks like anything other than Christ. He's saying, what I got over here is better than your commitment already. It is a lie. Christ, in possibly his weakest moment, his hardest moment, his toughest moment, he stayed true to his commitment. Now, I don't expect us to have the type of commitment that Christ had because he was Christ, but I do expect us to try. Right? Your commitment will fail, you'll mess up, you'll screw up, but grace is enough. But that does not excuse you from being committed. Nehemiah chapter 4, people in Nehemiah's own camp, people on his side, that they're building the wall, and they're seeing it being completed, getting there. They would come to him and say, Nehemiah, the strength of our workers are failing. There's too much rubbish that we cannot build the wall. And then our adversaries say, they won't know anything and they won't see anything, and we'll just come into their midst and kill them because they're so busy trying to work. Nehemiah said, I'll tell you what we'll do. We're going to place people to protect us, but we're not stopping building the wall. So some of you hold your spears, hold your swords. The other half of you, keep working. If you're working, keep a sword in your hand and work. I can only imagine, what the people of Nehemiah at that time felt. Like, man, Nehemiah, this is ridiculous. You expect me to work? You expect me to carry a sword? You expect me to just keep going when I'm tired? And Nehemiah's like, yes, I do. If you want this wall built, if you want to live, if you want to keep, I'm keeping my commitment. And if you want to fail, then just put your sword down, put your bricks down. But if you don't, it might be hard, but you're going to do it all. Now what I'm telling you this morning might seem hard, might seem impossible, might not seem pleasant. I'm telling you, the only way the work is done is by being committed.